You ever think it's impossible to feel sorry for the killer in a slasher story? Well, Stephen Graham Jones would like to have a word because somehow in I Was a Teenage Slasher, he makes you care, really care about the monster with the knife. And by the end, you might even be cheering for him. Yeah, you're not ready for this one. Hey there, I'm Jim, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages. If you're new here, this is the channel where my son Zach and I dive into worlds of fantasy, science fiction, and horror. Sometimes together, sometimes solo, like today. If you enjoy spoiler-light book reviews, wild ranking episodes, and the occasional nerdy debate, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. All right, let's talk slashers today. The book I want to share with you is I Was a Teenage Slasher, written by Stephen Graham Jones and released in 2024. It's part horror, part coming of age story, and 100% pure Stephen Graham Jones brilliance. If you know Jones' work, you already expect sharp prose, emotional depth, and a heavy dose of horror that cuts right to the bone. And yes, this one absolutely delivers. I found Stephen Graham Jones first through the Indian Lake Trilogy on a recommendation from one of you, one of our awesome subscribers, and it blew me away. That trilogy convinced me Stephen Graham Jones was a huge void in my reading repertoire, and I needed to do something special about it because he was doing something truly special in horror fiction. So naturally, I decided I had to read everything he'd written. I started with the early works and worked my way forward. Now I've reached what I'd call his masterpiece era, his books since 2020. The order I've read them has mostly been dictated by publication order, but balanced with when I could get a hold of them through the public library. However, I've made exceptions, and for this one, yeah, exception needed. Just hearing what it was about, I could not wait. I bought it, and after reading it, I can say, best decision I've made in a while. Here's my spoiler-light synopsis for you. Our main character, a high school student, small town kid, bit of a nerd, starts to realize something's wrong. He's having urges, compulsions, flashes of violence that don't make sense. It's like the rules of a slasher movie have bled into reality, and he's the one holding the knife. But Jones doesn't just write gore for shock value. This is a story about identity, about inevitability, about what happens when you are the monster everyone's afraid of. It's haunting, it's funny in moments, it's tragic in others, and it's filled with that SGJ signature mix of pop culture references and gut level humanity. This book, I feel it pairs beautifully with the Indian Lake Trilogy. They're two sides of the same blood spattered coin. In Indian Lake, our protagonist is trapped by the chaos of a slasher film coming to life. Here, the protagonist is the slasher, trapped into their role by forces that feel as old and unbreakable as gravity. Being a longtime fan of slasher films myself, I loved seeing Jones explore how all these ridiculous slasher tropes might actually manifest in real life. He doesn't bother explaining the how of it, it just is. And that's what makes it work. You believe it because Jones makes it real. And all of it is wrapped up in that deep, layered character work that he has absolutely mastered. This book was a delight from start to finish. Creepy, clever, emotional. And yes, you can't help but sympathize with the poor slasher. So, who will enjoy this book and why? I've got 5 different categories of readers that fit the bill. 1, all fans of slasher movies. If you love Jason, Michael, Ghostface, this book turns every familiar trope from those films on its head. You'll grin Every time you recognize a meta wink to the genre, right before the knife twists again. Second category, readers who like horror with heart. This is not just about blood and body counts. Jones gives us an emotional core, a tragic human soul trapped inside a horror trope. It's sad, beautiful, and weirdly relatable. Third category, fans of the Indian Lake Trilogy. This book could almost be the spiritual twin of My Heart is a Chainsaw and its sequels. It's exploring the same mythos from the other direction. What if you're the thing in the mask? Fourth category, readers who appreciate smart, stylish prose. Jones's writing is fast, lyrical, full of rhythm. He weaves voice, humor, and horror together in a way that few writers can pull off. You'll be underlining lines that are just so beautiful while trying not to flinch at what you're reading. And the final category is anyone who's tired of predictable horror. This book is different. It's bold, emotional, and subversive in all the best ways. If you think you know what a slasher story is supposed to be, this one will make you rethink it entirely. Stephen Graham Jones has done it again. Took a familiar horror concept, ripped it apart, and rebuilt it into something that's both terrifying and touching. I Was a Teenage Slasher isn't just a book about killing. It's a book about being trapped in a story you cannot escape and somehow making it your own anyway. I loved it, and I do highly recommend it. If you've read this one or the Indian Lake Trilogy, drop your thoughts down in the comments. While you're down there, look for the other ways you can interact with Zach and I, an invitation to our Discord server, our socials, even our email address. Thanks for watching. And as always, we'll talk to you next time.